Hi, everybody. Some of you might know me, some of you might not. I'm Lena Ramirez. I'm from the Naples Botanical Garden, but I am also your coordinator for the Caribbean and Central American Botanic Garden Network. I'm going to just do a really quick, brief presentation about my role and the role of the Botanical Garden Network, and how that applies to you. I want to keep this on time, so I'll go a little quicker today. So a little bit of history, just because there's so many new faces here today that I just wanted to touch on. So the network was formalized in 2016, but then in 2019 we became, or in 2019, Naples Botanical Garden and BACI signed an agreement so that Naples Botanical Garden could act as the secretariat for the network and coordinate. And then in 2022, we were finally able to bring on a coordinator, and that coordinator is me. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I have been in the role for a little bit over a year and a half, and I've really focused during this time on having one-on-one meetings with botanical gardens. I have not gotten to everybody, so if I'm having one, please help me. Or when I reach out to you, please have a meeting with me, because I really love to understand where all of our gardens are, professional-wise, development-wise, what stage. We have small gardens and large gardens with everything in between. And I'd love to understand the expertise that is housed within each botanical garden, so that I can either identify areas of gaps in training, and then we can coordinate workshops, but also so that I can see what expertise you guys have, and then coordinate a series of technical talks where you share that information with the rest of the network. And then we're in 2024. Look at how big this room is, and we are packed. And I think that's incredible. We have doubled in just a little bit over. Bahamas was not 2 years ago. Bahamas was 14 months ago. And it's incredible what we have been able to accomplish in that time. So based off of garden search data, we have 256 botanical gardens in Caribbean and in Central America. That data might not be 100% accurate, because that is based off of data that the gardens share with us. So we need to make sure that we're constantly updating it to have that accurate. So what do we provide? We provide collaboration, expertise, and resources. But who is we? I am not. I mean, I do, but it's not just me. The network is not just me. The network is not just BBCI. It's not just the garden. It's everybody. It's all of the gardens that we represent. We are all resources for each other. We all can provide expertise, all provide operations and collaboration, and resources. Resources is that expertise, that knowledge, and building those bridges. And then the Botanical Garden Congress is a great opportunity for that collaboration. Sometimes you might notice that behind you, listening to conversations. I'm not trying to eavesdrop, but I am trying to figure out what everybody is working on and where I can build those connections with people, because not everybody is talking. It's hard to talk to everybody, but if I can help identify areas where to collaborate, then I provide expertise. Again, all of us provide expertise. So I host a quarterly technical talk series called where we have a virtual platform, and we'll provide live translation so that representatives in either English or Spanish can share their projects and expertise without being afraid that they have to in only represented. And then that is recorded and on our YouTube channel. That information is portalized. And then when I have these one-on-one meetings, we also identify gaps in training for day workshops. The gap analysis survey that was sent out, that will definitely identify more workshop opportunities. And professional development, I do have some funding where I can bring professionals to the garden. I'll have a meet discuss conversation. What kind of training or what kind of conversation that partners would like to have with professionals that can able to mechanical garden. Over usually a week worth of training. That's but we had a great time, right? So these are just some of the opportunities and resources. So we are here to support, provide technical support, moral support. We try to mobilize funding and all of that later. We have the Caribbean strategy for plant everybody in the room providing feedback. We send that back out 2 months later, and we finally finalize it, and not really people as well by artists what way to take it. And all of our resources are also available on our Mechanical Versus website. Under the and a lot of the information also links back to the guide. There's also a wealth of knowledge on them. I would love to highlight the Beyond Levy Management project. And with the help of EDI, Beyond Levy Management, able to are able to acquire funding for future projects. That is really emphasizing our gardens work towards for plant diversity. And we're able to provide through that awards for grants, for small grants. We had 7 project grants awarded this year from 7 institutions across. And we're able to provide scholarships for people to attend this conference. So 7 scholarships, 7 institutions. Whoever recipients probably have. And then we have some communication channels. I want to point out our Facebook Mechanical Fitness group mostly. So that second QR code, that is a private group that we can control, and it's professionals and not just plant enthusiasts. We receive a lot of requests from plant enthusiasts. We want it to be really a group of our network. So I will send out the communication with this link so you don't have access to it right now. Don't worry. But we also have our Facebook page, which is accessible to the public. The group is private. We have our Congress page, and we have our lister. If you're not currently receiving emails from me every 2 weeks with information out of the network and out of PCI, I will add you to the list, so don't worry about that. But if you can identify other types of organizations or other organizations that you partner with that you would like, please send me an email with their contact information and the organization that they're with, and I can get them added. Oh, let me go back so I can explain. Okay. So this is the attendance from our 2022 Mechanical Versus Conference. So everything that I just talked about and everything that we're doing is to help increase participation across our network. This was great, but this is great. This is 2024. delivered. So we have been able to double the representation, not just of participants, but of representation. So many countries, as you can see, are not in attendance. But in 2024, thanks to the help of grants, conversations, our amazing host has done an incredible job of also reaching out to people. We have seen a huge increase in our participation. 22, I believe it was 10 countries, 20 institutions, 50-ish participants. 2024, everything has doubled plus some. It is, I believe, 23 countries, 47 institutions, almost 120 participants. We have maxed out and we had to but there's a gap. All of our smaller islands are not represented, but not only are they not represented, I don't have contacts for them. And so my big thing, as I have said, is I try to meet one-on-one. I feel independent one-on-one if I don't know. So if you have, I'm giving you homework. Remember, I gave you a free shirt. If you have, this is going to be the most expensive free shirt you've ever had. If you have any contacts in the small islands, as well as in the countries that are in Central America that are not highlighted, or even in your own country, if you know of other gardens that maybe are not actively participating in this network, don't know the network exists, please reach out to them, give them my contact, or please reach out to me, give me their contact. I would be more than happy. But by 2026, I would like to see all of that in dark. That's my time. You have my contact information. Again, I will be emailing all of you regardless. But that's how you do that.
Vamos a pasar a la siguiente presentación. Y aquí vamos a tener oportunidad de conversar. Va a ser una presentación en la que vamos a tener oportunidad de hablar, de compartir y de entender también qué es lo que los jardines botánicos necesitan en la región y cuáles serán los siguientes pasos a seguir. Mi nombre, bueno, ya me conocéis, soy Noelia Álvarez, trabajo para Botanic Gardens Conservation International y apoyo a Naples con la coordinación de la red caribeña y centroamericana de jardines botánicos. Y tengo a Chad Wasbun, él es el vicepresidente de conservación de Naples. ¿Cómo va? Perfecto. Pues con la beca o el dinero que adquirimos del Leon Levy Native Plant Preserve, tuvimos la oportunidad de realizar un gap análisis, bueno, una encuesta para empezar. Comenzamos con una encuesta que enviamos a todos los miembros de la red. Y bueno, lo que queríamos en un primer momento es entender el trabajo de conservación que los jardines botánicos están llevando a cabo en la red caribeña y centroamericana para implementar la estrategia que queremos implementar en los años que vienen. Y lo que hicimos, bueno, mandamos un survey, una encuesta, y hemos estado analizando los datos, identificando brechas, y la idea a lo que nos comprometimos era a compartir los resultados aquí en el Congreso. Lo primero de todo es que tuvimos 48 respuestas, muy poquitas desde mi punto de vista. Pero bueno, 35 instituciones, 13 países. Ahí están los países que participaron. Entonces, pensamos que esta encuesta no es muy representativa, pero estamos trabajando con ella porque es lo que tenemos en estos momentos. Lo que nos gustaría recomendar es compartir lo que ha dicho Lina, compartir comunicaciones con vuestra plantilla, si sois directores o manejáis equipo en el jardín botánico, no solamente si recibís comunicaciones, las leéis y ya. Queremos que las comunicaciones se compartan con toda la plantilla de los jardines y también con jardines que sepáis que no pertenecen a la red o que no nos conocen. También nos gustaría pediros que promovierais la red a través de vuestros canales de comunicación. Si hubiera posibilidad de poner el logo de la red en vuestras páginas web, sería maravilloso. Promocionar la red, porque todavía tenemos muchas brechas, muchos lugares a los que no llegamos y muchos jardines a los que no llegamos, incluso países representados en este congreso. Bueno, es lo que ha presentado Lina. Vamos, ya sabéis dónde está la brecha. Por favor, conocen a instituciones que están desarrollando actividades de conservación de plantas en estas islas. Nos encantaría conocerlos. Una de las preguntas era, bueno, queríamos saber si había conocimiento de la red entre los jardines de la región. Y sí, toda la gente que contestó, por supuesto, conocía la red y también participaba de las actividades, o sea que fue muy, muy positivo. También preguntamos si habría oportunidad de que las personas que formáis la red tomarais un papel más proactivo en el funcionamiento de la red. Y también tuvimos una positiva respuesta. Casi la mitad de las personas dijeron que sí, que podrían tener un papel voluntario, con la parte de comunicación o a lo mejor siendo un punto nodal para su país o llevando a cabo investigación. Entonces, bueno, la idea será, lo que haremos será identificar a estas personas que dijeron que querían participar, nos pondremos en contacto para ver si podemos hacer sinergias para trabajar en el funcionamiento. Entonces, bueno, las siguientes preguntas de la encuesta eran sobre la estrategia caribeña para la conservación de plantas. Sin plantas no hay vida y el funcionamiento de nuestro planeta y nuestra supervivencia depende de las plantas. Esta es nuestra visión de la estrategia. Aprobamos la estrategia en el Botanical Bridges Congress, en el Congreso Botánico del 2022, con 4 objetivos. Y aquí tienen el código QR para llegar a la estrategia que está publicada en español y en inglés. Entonces, por favor, compartan esta estrategia también con las personas de su jardín, con su plantilla. Compártanla para que sea conocida. Tiene 4 objetivos esta estrategia y el primero de ellos es conocer y documentar la diversidad vegetal. Entonces, bueno, una de las preguntas fue que si en las instituciones se compartían los datos y el 39% dijo que sí, que en las instituciones se compartían los datos, pero había un alto porcentaje que no sabía si los datos se estaban compartiendo y en algunas de ellas no se compartían los datos para nada. Esas son las actividades, aquí se mencionan las actividades que eran más compartidas, desde inventorios florísticos, mapping, inventorios de especies invasivas, etc. Pero sí falta todavía mucho para llegar a compartir los datos de la manera que deberíamos hacer. Entonces te voy a pasar la palabra, Chao.
Right. In a moment, we're going to open the floor to some interaction and some questions. And the questions that we have for you are based primarily around the Caribbean strategy for plant conservation. But we're also looking at how that overlaps with the BGCI's garden accreditation, because that can act as a roadmap for progress towards the strategy for conservation and a roadmap for developing a strategy to meet the goals of the strategy for plant conservation. Our goal of opening the floor to you is to build capacity. We're asking very specific questions, and we would like to ask you with short answers that are focused back on that will help us to build the capacity. We want to come away with this, with actionable items that we can do to help all of us within the network build more capacity. So please think about that in your responses, and we've got a series of questions, so we want to make sure we get through everything. So we've heard so much this week, and going back to the slide before this, there's so much information and data work that we are doing around conservation, and we see quite often that sharing that data is a roadblock to our ability to conserve plants. Quite often, if you could go back to the slide before this one, we can see that data sharing is a significant barrier to our ability to effectively conserve plants. So go back. So we'd like to focus on one very specific method of sharing data, and that's through plant search and garden search. How many of you what are for those of you who have not uploaded, how many of you have uploaded your data to plant search and garden search? Okay, there's not enough hands in the room. So if you haven't, for those of you that did not raise your hand, what are the barriers or challenges? What is preventing you from uploading your data to garden search or plant search?
Well, I mean, I think the most basic one is just the lack of people to just go about to work. Our gardens changed so much over the years of heritage, whatever the content. We're using YouTube for a long time ago. People, and so it's just, I mean, obviously, like reintegrating to come to this, and we're going to be really motivated to try and address that. But it's really using the time.
So time and people, it's not for a lack of wanting to do it.
So it's we're not actually an accredited botanical garden, so I feel like on there. Is that true?
No, you should absolutely share that data. That's a really good point. Even if you are not an accredited botanical garden, if you have living plant collections, it's important that that is a part of the database, so that we can more effectively conserve plants.
Just wanted to support that piece about lack of people. And I thought about this last night after the interaction. While we are focusing on plants at risk, I think it's worth considering people at risk. Some institutions are being pushed ahead by charismatic champions, but they may be at a single level. There may be no backup. I did hear a story about a scientist who was building in an area and a stroke. We're aging. Individuals get dementia, or they leave, or there are cultural conditions or political, both big P and little p conditions that create instability in our efforts. So I think we should think about that as well.
Okay, so it sounds like people and time are the primary barrier. Again, I'd like to just ask you to keep your answers very brief, just a few words.
Nosotros estamos en el proceso de la elaboración del Excel con todos los datos de las plantas que tenemos. cuando ya lo concluyamos, va a ser de beneficio para nosotros, para el control de muchas cosas allá, también lo compartiremos con la.
Wonderful, thank you. Last one.
Yo solo quería decir que creo que primero hay que educar más y segundo, para nosotros, para Cuba, producto de las relaciones complejas que hay entre nuestro país y los Estados Unidos, no tenemos acceso a esos sitios desde Cuba. Entonces, tenemos que entrar a través de una conexión ilegal y no tiene que ver con la conexión. Entonces, yo les pido que valoren eso, que revisen, que sea en un espacio que se pueda compartir con nuestro país. Información hay mucho en Cuba que puede ser muy útil en este sentido, porque se trabaja en conocer y documentar la diversidad vegetal. Eso es un trabajo nuestro cotidiano. Entonces, eso para mí es una barrera. La otra barrera, además de las personas y el tiempo, es que sería muy bueno que desde ustedes se propongan cuáles son los campos indispensables, es decir, que no pueden faltar para completar esa información y enviarla y que lo haga mucho más práctico para poder aprovechar las personas y el tiempo de esas personas. Entonces, no es solo todo completo, sino que si optimizamos el tiempo de las personas que tenemos, porque al final vamos a seguir con el problema de que las personas se van y vamos a seguir con el problema del tiempo que disponen las personas para hacer. A lo mejor algunos de los talleres que se puedan hacer en la región pueden ser talleres de subir esa información o de cómo, no a cómo hacerlo, sino de levantarla o hacer algún esfuerzo hacia esa dirección, ¿no? Eso puede ser otro.
Vamos a tener un taller de Plant Search. Va a ser un webinar, va a ser online. Patricia va a estar dando el taller el día, creo que es el 21 de marzo. Sí, sí, pero ya lo sé, pero estaremos grabando la presentación, estaremos mandando la presentación. Sé que los compañeros de La Habana a veces se reúnen todos juntos, no sé cómo lo hacen, pero son capaces de, sí, se reúne mucha gente y lo ve. Sí, pues sí, sí. Yo pasaremos los vídeos de todas maneras, entiendo, lo entiendo, sí. Pero bueno, esa es una de las actividades que estamos intentando hacer dentro de nuestras capacidades. También somos un equipo muy pequeño, pero sí que estamos haciendo lo máximo posible. Gracias.
Thank you. And I think that provides us, can you hear me on the microphone? I think that gives us the opportunity to do things that we can do to support data upload. If you think of other things, please let us know. Always get a hold of Lena. Next question we have for you is for accreditation. And one of the issues that we keep hearing over and over again with accreditation, one of the challenges is signage. And what are is signage and labeling in your garden? And we talked a little bit about this yesterday. We had two groups. We had the Spanish-speaking group and the English-speaking group in the BGCI workshop. And there were comments and questions on labeling and signage. For you individually, in just literally 3 or 4 words, please, what are the challenges that you have with signage and labeling?
Para incluir etiquetas de buena calidad que duren a través de los años, tenemos que mandarlas a imprimir en Estados Unidos que tengamos que traer los detalles para que duren. A veces como la disponibilidad de
Okay, availability of printing capacity.
I'd say for us, it's economy. We aren't trained to fund, right? So we're doing the best we can.
So that's an important from the taxonomy. That is definitely a barrier to signage that we don't always think about. If I could ask you to pass the microphone down here. Taxonomy is something that we can address.
Bueno, uno de los mayores desafíos que tenemos, que a la vez se convierten en barreras, es la inclusión. Es uno de los temas que a mí más me duelen porque no tenemos los suficientes recursos para incluir a quien no oye, no ve. Es un tema muy triste para nosotros porque quisiéramos que todas las personas en el planeta pudieran tener acceso a la información, al conocimiento. Para mí es el mayor desafío que hoy enfrentamos en el Jardín Botánico de Medellín. Gracias.
Thank you. All right. These are all things that can be addressed, so thank you. You want to go on to the next?
Ahora pasamos al objetivo 2 de la estrategia, que es conservar la diversidad vegetal de manera efectiva y utilizarla de forma sostenible. Entonces, cuando hicimos esta pregunta sobre qué instituciones, si las instituciones estaban conservando plantas amenazadas o material vegetal amenazado ex situ, hubo una contestación muy positiva. El 71% de las instituciones incluyen plantas amenazadas en sus colecciones ex situ. Lo de Plant Search, pues ya lo hemos visto que solamente 3 instituciones de la región han actualizado sus colecciones desde que Plant Search ha sido actualizado en octubre 2023.
So here we want to, watching the presentations this week, we've seen so many incredible projects that are effectively conserving plants. But we know that we can all do better. There are things that we can do to improve our ability to be effective. So I have 3 or 4 topics here that seem to be barriers. And a good example of this is 3D's presentation on after the hurricane, not having a nursery limited their ability to get grants and do all of this other work. And since then, they've been able to provide some self-sufficiency just based around getting a grant on the nursery. So what are the impediments to you and your organization being more effective? And there's really 3 or 4 big things here. Infrastructure, and that can be nursery, pots, soil, the materials that you need, labels. Capacity and knowledge, those kind of go together. That's people, horticultural expertise, taxonomic expertise, and the ability to prioritize. That's that ability to look at the flora of your region and identify what are the greatest priorities. And then the other theme there is policy. Having a strong plant collection policy, is that a barrier for anyone? That can be your roadmap towards effective conservation. That's really your filter for effective conservation. And the other one is the ability to duplicate collections, to take your collections and share them with other gardens in the region. Is that a barrier to your ability to be effective? Again, I'd like to ask for just very short 3 or 4 word answers if you can, just to make sure that we can capture as much as possible.
Gracias. Ana María Navides del Jardín Botánico de Medellín. Nosotros podríamos decir que tenemos en cierta medida todos estos ítems. Lo que necesitamos son fondos a largo plazo. Fondos a largo plazo que nos permitan manejar programas, que nos permitan monitorear y seguir. Porque nuestros fondos actualmente son 6 meses, 1 año, máximo 2 años. Gracias.
Very good. Thank you. You could pass this microphone down here.
Short all 4 our challenge points. In our case, data, structure, capacity, knowledge, and policy.
But we can talk afterwards, Danny. Thank you.
Para el caso de nosotros, la escuela de la El Salvador, quizás tenemos experiencia en el caso de la agricultura y también pues,
That's great to hear, and that's the kind of thing that can be addressed, absolutely.
Gracias. Sí, yo quisiera hacer como énfasis en necesitamos más capacitación en temas de horticultura. En Colombia, por ejemplo, no hay una profesión de horticultura y requerimos que más especialistas puedan encaminarse en esa vía y necesitamos más apoyo de instituciones que tienen gran capacidad en estos temas para que nos capaciten, nos apoyen y nos den más herramientas para poder girar una acción.
Thank you. All right, go on to the next one. Thank you.
Ahora vamos a pasar al número 3 de la estrategia, que es fomentar la educación sobre la diversidad vegetal. Y bueno, más del 80% de las instituciones realizan programas, incorporan educación y concienciación sobre las plantas nativas y sus hábitats. Fue una respuesta muy positiva. Pero tenemos mucho trabajo que hacer.
Yes, we definitely have lots of work to do in education. I know that there are great successful programs, and many of those are focused on youth. How many of you in your organizations operate programs for youth education by show of hands? Okay, that's most of those in the room. If you did not raise your hand, some other examples of education beyond youth, professionals, adults, politicians and policymakers, or even education programs for your own staff within the garden. That's vital. We just heard that. That's vital. If you don't operate programs for those audiences outside of youth, if you did not raise your hand, what are the barriers to you being able to do that? Is it not in your strategic plan or part of your plan, or is it funding? Nancy.
En nuestro caso, el problema es de hoy aquí tiene un problema grave, la cantidad que se dedican a hacer la educación solamente. Los que estamos haciendo educación somos los investigadores o los profesores que estamos en el jardín y somos los que apoyamos las actividades. Pero es un jardín de 471 hectáreas, con más de 70.000 visitantes por año y con visitas especiales. Hacemos educación a todos los niveles, desde el nivel del Estado hasta los niños, pero tener un programa de educación como nos gustaría y puede hacerse no es posible. Hoy, por ejemplo, estamos trabajando en crear senderos de observaciones de aves, gracias al apoyo de los profesores que estudian ecología de aves y que están trabajando en el jardín. Y eso va a ser muy llamativo y, por supuesto, va a demandar muchísimo personal. Pero hoy no tenemos personas que se dediquen solo a atender la educación.
Nancy, did you have one? And then
It's basically the same. It's having people. We have people lead, we have aging staff, we have young people who are training. We don't have dedicated cooperations. The environmental education, the national parks, the botanic gardens just got one park. So it's really just having people and
okay.
We are currently doing some work with our neighbors, and also we're trying to establish formative activity, more like home course for teachers. But I think that the greatest barrier is the financial support, because the source of financing is the same for all the activities. And we do have a great news for Colombia, and it's that we're currently working on the first horticultural school for Colombia. We're working with an institution that can certify, like academically certified. So hopefully, and Herman, who's here, is in charge of that. Hopefully next year we can launch it, like the first group.
Will you be accepting students from outside of Colombia?
We haven't thought about it, but that's a good thing to discuss in the meeting that we have with our partner next week.
Please do. Thank you. So another question around education, and this is a practice that we've begun in my own botanical garden, is our education team is integrated with conservation and horticulture. They go out in the field with us. They are a part of every conservation project we do. They're on the ground floor. And a show of hands, is anybody in the room doing that? Is their education team along with, okay, we do see that happening. What is preventing anyone from doing that? Does it go back to the same issues that we see with audiences? I'm curious, is siloing between departments an issue? Is education does they're one department and conservation horticulture is another? Peter?
In many botanic gardens, it comes down to the fact that the education programs are basically about plants rather than for plants. So the advocacy role in education programs to explain the conservation work in the garden and so on is less developed and perhaps less expertise. That is something that many more try to use the education program, not just to talk about plants, but to try to promote that understanding.
I think that's a challenge from Peter to all of our organizations to improve that.
Just also, I wanted to say a comment about education. So I think COVID gave us a lesson of the virtual platforms. So I've been waiting to reach out to launch a new platform for teaching horticulture. It's called Plant Studio. And we've been in last years educating 300,000 people. The children, adults, teachers, we work with all the schools in New York. And now with the Plant Studio platform, the idea is that we can reach the young way beyond the country. So everybody also invited to check Plant Studio in the video.
Thank you. And we will ask you to share that on the listserv. There are opportunities for gardens in the region to host educational programs for people. There's so much with Zoom and different technologies now that we can do that.
From the organizational point of view, I think that we need to establish processes that can link together the different areas, not only education and conservation, but internal and external communications as well.
Yeah.
So I think that we do have a long road ahead in terms of organizationally linking those different areas.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think that if anybody figures out that, but it comes up with a good communication pattern within your organization, please, we're all here to help each other and share that support. If I could ask you to pass that down. Last question, and then we'll move on to the next question. Oh, down to the end.
En el caso nuestro, tenemos guías escritas, cuales hacemos llegar a las diferentes instituciones dependiendo del nivel y el grado que ellos pueden comprender dentro de las guías para niños pequeños, particularidad de segunda y las de bachillerato con otras, porque igual los ejercicios son diferentes. Entonces, de esa manera, entablamos conversación previa con la gente que nos va a visitar, especialmente los estudiantes. De una forma muy sencilla, hacemos que ellos dibujen, que hagan sus notas y todo eso.
Thank you.
punto número 4, que es muy importante, construir capacidades para implementar esta estrategia. Entonces, cuando preguntamos en la encuesta cuáles eran los las necesidades de training en la región, estos son los que salieron: el desarrollo de jardines botánicos, conservación de horticultura para la conservación, conservación de árboles, conservación de semillas, plan estratégico, master planning, no sé cómo se dice ahora mismo, educación e interpretación, bueno, todas las que están ahí, restauración, etcétera. Pero esto es lo que hemos estado viendo estos días como más prioritario.
So we've listed some of the priorities. I don't need 2 microphones. We've listed some of the priorities up here outside of the gap analysis that have come up during this meeting this week, all here together in this room. So I think we have, and there's a lot of overlap. So I think we have a good handle on what we need to build capacity in terms of training. And we thought about this, and a better question around this may not be what are the topics. We know the topics. What are the most effective ways for that training, for you to receive that training? Is it online? Is it in person? Is it through staff exchanges? And staff exchanges can be both directions. Is it through train the trainer, which can be a more intensive program, but that gives you a capacity of someone that can be within your organization, can be the trainer. Another one to throw out there, cohorts or working groups or WhatsApp groups among our network that are focused on one specific topic, like plant propagation or taxonomy, a place where you can share an image and have others within the group help identify that. So within these topics, think about that. Please let us know what are some of the ways that we could best deliver this information to you. We saw such success with Cristobal's program. I think that's fantastic, and I know that there are opportunities. You have ideas.
Well, it's just kind of very far away from the world. So even just knowing how you can access, let's say, horticulture, say, where can we find grants for from the you just don't know. We're available on the license. These places no. Very basic. Where can we go?
That's very helpful. Thank you. And I keep looking back at Lena back here. Thank you.
So after last year's clinic, I went back and did a slide presentation of all the training opportunities. I regarded it as represented, and it was incredible. Because I'm still not sure I captured everything, and I'm sure there's been more in this last.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just like one location.
So centralizing opportunities for everyone in the region. That's good. Thank you. Who do we turn to? Okay.
Sorry. Sending people to projects to show them things.
So exchanges. Okay. Thank you. Vanessa? Okay.
Una pregunta. La taxonomía es, la deficiencia sería en cómo identificar plantas o capacidades para que los pacientes puedan identificar sus plantas o necesitan que les identifiquen sus plantas. Porque si fuera general, pudiera ser la capacidad general, como un poco de sistemática para poder identificar plantas en el Caribe, nosotros estaríamos dispuestos a dar un curso de identificación práctica para muchos niveles, lo tenemos diseñado y puede ser para la región del Caribe. Eso lo podríamos hacer. Puede ser algo que podemos conversar y trabajarlo. Tenemos un curso de estructura para la concentración, podemos pensar en hacer uno para capacitar zonas del Caribe, la región nuestra, en sistemática de plantas de Caribe.
Thank you. That's fantastic, and that's a great opportunity. That's a fantastic opportunity.
Es para decir más que nada que podemos tener sistemas ahí para que ustedes manden información, pero si la información no se manda, los sistemas no funcionan. Cuando yo empecé en BGCI teníamos un foro online y yo había hecho un foro online para South American, Caribbean, Costa Rica, y nadie mandaba, nadie interaccionaba. Entonces, si no interaccionamos con estas plataformas que tenemos para encontrar capacidad en conjunto, no sirve. Entonces, y yo sé que todos tienen un trabajo muy grande y todos estamos a full. Pero bueno, tenemos el Director of Expertise en BGCI, and I'm about to close it because we just haven't had CVs of people with expertise or others can find. So I think I know it's going to come later, but please engage with these things. If we want to do this, we need continuous engagement, not just here and not just at director level. We need engagement at every level in your organization.
Absolutely. Thank you, Patricia. And yes, the conversation does not end here and happen every 2 years. The conversation can be carried and should be carried throughout. So, one more quick comment from Cristobal.
Thank you very much. Here in Mexico, we just published a book from more than 30 botanical gardens that is for free, and it's called Mega Diverse Mexico Seen Through Its Gardens and Its Protagonists. Acabamos de publicar un libro en México de más de 30 perdón, otra vez. Entonces, bueno, llegamos a siete temas prioritarios en el caso de nuestra asociación, que creo que pueden estar compartidos, y las ideas muy puntuales son, el primero, de los retos y de las prioridades es promover el reconocimiento, el rescate y la defensa del conocimiento de las comunidades indígenas. Ese es uno muy importante. El otro, segundo, extender los programas de educación ambiental a las áreas de influencia de los jardines botánicos. Entonces, tenemos mucho trabajo al interior, pero hay muchas áreas de oportunidad fuera del jardín botánico y con. El tercero es consolidar programas de agricultura regional para la conservación y el uso de la biodiversidad local. El siguiente fue promover redes activas y en beneficio para las metacolecciones de especies prioritarias. Otro fue fortalecer y promover nuevos jardines botánicos en regiones áridas, templadas y cálido-húmedas en nuestro país. Todavía tenemos estados como Chihuahua, que es del tamaño de 2-3 veces de España, que no tienen ni un solo jardín botánico. Muy grave eso. La otra es tomar acción contra el cambio climático y los desastres. Nos tocó compartir este año el problema del huracán. El huracán Lidia nos pegó muy fuerte. Estamos asustados. Y el último es trabajar en fuentes de financiamiento continuo, porque los jardines botánicos están en crisis en muchos casos y pues esto implica adaptarse o morir a algunos de ellos. Y eso es todo lo que resumen en la red mexicana.
Thank you.
Y ahora vamos a hablar un poquito de la acreditación, que sí que han estado muy interesados, ¿no? Durante estos días ya han hablado muchos de los jardines con Patricia sobre el proceso de acreditación de BGCI. cómo este proceso además apoya a los jardines botánicos, a los esfuerzos de conservación. Entonces, bueno, cuando preguntamos, bueno, hemos mirado los datos que tenemos de acreditación en la región y existen un total de 8 jardines acreditados en la región. Todavía quedan un 97% de jardines que no han sido acreditados. Entonces, es un trabajo muy grande por hacer. Aquí hemos puesto las áreas que comprenden el proceso de acreditación, las áreas en las que pedimos evidencias a los jardines para que sean acreditados, las diferentes áreas. Y bueno, son 10 áreas. Y hemos puesto en rojo las áreas que pensamos que necesitan más apoyo los jardines de la región en estos momentos, por lo que hemos estado escuchando estos días. También las otras áreas necesitan también el apoyo, pero pensamos que esas 3 representan un resumen de lo que hemos estado hablando estos días.
With that, we see that the accreditation can be a good way to build a strategy for your garden for the future, for the work that you do, and it can help you move towards contributing towards the Caribbean strategy for plant conservation. So with that, how many of you, out of curiosity in the room, by show of hands, plan on applying for accreditation sometime in the future? All right, so a fair number, and we hope to see more of that. We hope to see more of you. We'd really like to see everyone in the room at some point in the future. If you're not, or if you're not sure about whether or not you want to apply for accreditation, what is the barrier? Is it knowing more about accreditation, or is it the time that it takes to do it? What is the barrier for you and your organization to become accredited? I already heard the word time. Infrastructure, I can add that.
And also we need to learn more about those accreditations. For instance, we just received the ARPNet Level 4 accreditation for our garden, and then BGCI staff automatically contacted us and said, you're just a step from the BGCI accreditation process. We're moving towards that. I'm not really sure if we've already done it, but I think that we need to go and dig deeper in what these accreditations are, because not always is a thing about money. There are other resources that are used.
Yeah.
Lo digo en castellano. Tenemos, si no saben la acreditación, hay un video que hice, hay uno en inglés, también hay una technical talk que hicimos para la red sudamericana de jardines botánicos, que explica el proceso de acreditación y explica el lado del jardín, para qué le sirvió esa cosa. Pregunten, hago todo lo posible. Y la otra cosa es que no tienen que mandar, para llenar el formulario, no tienen que mandar sobre todas las oportunidades que tienen de educación al público o toda la investigación que tienen en el jardín. Solo unos ejemplos es necesario, es suficiente, solo 3 ejemplos, un par de ejemplos, la descripción de qué es lo que hacen. Y eso es suficiente, no tiene que ser complicado, lo están haciendo ya, es solo ponerlo en papel. Y la documentación no tiene que estar traducida al inglés. O sea, no traduzcan sus documentos estratégicos al inglés. Google allows me to read Slovenian now.
Thank you, and I think it goes back to a point that Vanessa made around plant search. Is maybe it's focusing on putting your endemics or your natives in from the garden and not focusing on trying to get every plant in the collections into plant search. We've got a question down here. Sorry. or comment?
Pues más que una pregunta, es un comentario que a nosotros nos pareció relativamente sencillo la acreditación, o sea, todo está muy bien explicado, es seguir los pasos y contar con los documentos.
Good. Thank you.
Hemos tenido ejemplos de problemas de autoestima dentro de los jardines, como pensando que no estaban preparados. Jardines pequeños, porque se comparan con jardines grandes, no, nosotros no podemos, pero realmente están haciendo todas esas actividades. Y ha sido, con un jardín de Ecuador y otro de Perú, ha sido increíble, porque al conseguir la acreditación les ha dado muchísimas oportunidades para justificar su existencia. Entonces, es importante. Y también compártanlo con otros jardines en sus redes nacionales. Los jardines que ya estáis acreditados son un muy buen ejemplo para compartirlo cuando tengáis vuestra reunión de red. Promocionarlo, por favor, porque realmente sí que ayuda a los jardines.
Okay. Oh, I'll do it with this. So, no one's getting out of here without homework. As a network, there's, as Lena said, the network, look around the room. Everyone you see sitting next to you and yourself, you are the network. So there will be things that we hope that you do coming out of this. And we have goals. And we know that by investing in doing these things, it will help us as a region be so much stronger and more effective in plant conservation. And I know coming here this week, it took a lot to leave my family. And I know for all of you, you left your gardens and your families. But I hope that you've left this week with a greater sense of friendship and camaraderie with your colleagues, that you've left with opportunities for training and for collaboration, that you've left with something that you can go back, a strategy that can help you be better at what you do and more effective at plant conservation. So the questions that we have for you and that we're going to ask of you, and these are things that we want to measure and progress towards these. Identify contacts in the islands or in the region with no records in garden search. And Lena showed that beautiful map and everybody clapped. And I looked at that, and some of those big areas that were filled in, the countries maybe had one person from that. And that's important to get that first person here. I can't say how happy I am for all the new people in the room and to have Aruba here developing a botanical garden. That's fantastic. That was a gap. But we need you to reach out to your contacts in the region to bring them in and make us stronger as a group. So we will be reaching out to you to identify contacts. And if you have any now, we are here. Please share. If there's people here that you know in your country or in the region that weren't here and that you think should be here, please let us know and give us their contact information. Patricia just said this for us, but I'm going to communicate. I'm going to say it again. Participate in network communications. We have the listserv and we have a Facebook group. Those are there for us. We will not be effective if we all go home and we don't see each other again and we don't communicate or talk until 2 years from now at the next Congress. We need to go home and continue these conversations, talking with everyone. And you don't really know what you're doing that might spark someone else in the network and give them an opportunity to get excited and something that they can do at their own garden or their own community. So please use the listserv and the Facebook. And don't worry, you will all be on the email. Since we have your emails, you'll all be added to the listserv. And that's everyone in the room, please. Update garden search. We hope to have everyone in the room update your information in garden search. And we have a goal of accomplishing that by May of 2024. So after this Congress, you will get an email asking you to do this. Please, it's really important. We can see that percentage on that circle of sharing data, how small that was. Same for update plant search. September 2024, we would like everybody in the room to please update your data. That data really can help us all together as a network. I heard a story this week about a garden that was focusing on a plant for conservation. not realizing that other gardens were already conserving that plant effectively. And that's where that sharing of information, we hear time and money a lot as an issue, and we don't have time and money to duplicate the work that each of us in the room are doing. So this is your homework. Can I see a show of hands of everybody who vows to do this? And if you don't raise your hand, Lena's going to come take your shirts. All right. So thank you. Thank you very much. We have Cristobal.
Perdón, acerca de la acreditación. Hay algunas otras acreditaciones que ustedes ya tienen con compatibilidad. Saben qué es lo que se comparte y qué es lo que no se comparte. En el caso de nosotros en México, necesitamos que por favor insistan a la asociación a que les dé los criterios, porque actualmente han ido cambiando y no tenemos oficialmente publicados los criterios para ser miembro oficial de nuestra asociación, cosa que es muy grave y nos ayudaría mucho que como BCCI se pongan en contacto, y no sé si esto también ocurre en otros jardines, donde ya tenemos una acreditación, pero no sabemos exactamente cuál es el equivalente.
Okay. Yeah. And there is Patricia is going to make a comment to that, and then we're
Tenemos unos programas de aplicación recíproca con algunas instituciones. Estamos trabajando con más asociaciones para poder hacer eso. Hay países que tienen sus propias aplicaciones dentro de la universidad. Y incluso ACNET. Eso con ACNET, si estás acreditado de nivel 3 o 4, se van a mandar un poquito de información a la NPI, pueden acreditarse. Pero bueno, si ya tienen una acreditación establecida en su país, en vez de podemos ver ese tipo de, hay que alinear todos los pasos.
Thank you. Christian, did you have a? Okay. So language. Okay. Yeah, thank you. And with that, thank you very much. Here's our contact information, and thank you so much, everybody, for everything this week. And I think following this, have a couple. We've got a couple slides and Santiago. Do you want to go first? Okay, all right, I'll go first. Thank you, everyone. And I'm going to do this last part really quickly, my part, and then Santiago is going to take us out. But I know that I'm standing between you and lunch. So I'm just going to be really brief. I'm going to skip over some of the slides. We just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's been a part of this. This is that village. This is the village that it took to make this happen. Could we get a round of applause for Santiago? All right. And that's for Santiago, the entire team. If you saw all of the students that were working around this week to make this happen, they made everything go so smoothly. It doesn't happen without support from the board. And Santiago, your board was here very supportive, and that's an incredible thing to see in a botanical garden. our great sponsors for this meeting. It doesn't happen without the sponsors who provide scholarships, who provide the financial support, who provide other support for making this happen. So round of applause for our sponsors. Just numbers. We had this week 120 participants from 23 countries, 6 themes. That's incredible. And we hope to see that number grow each year. Just some bigger picture numbers. Worldwide, there are around 3,070 botanical gardens. And I ran some numbers. And with the numbers that Peter shared earlier, 227 gardens in our region. We are 9% of the botanical gardens on Earth. That's powerful. We are a really powerful group. So think about that. We're 9% of the botanical gardens on Earth. I'm not going to go through this. I'll just click through some of these. These were some of the themes that we saw this week that came out of the week. I'll click slowly through them. We can share this as well. There are 4 or 5 slides here. Thank you to everybody who was a presenter or held a workshop or did a poster this week. What next? The network, remember, it's yours to participate. Please share with colleagues, update your profile, update your plant list and plant search, join the mailing list, which you will all be added to the mailing list, increase the representation and continue collaborating around the region. And I know a question that everyone in the room has, and we have a process for the Congress 2 years from now. So we host the Botanical Bridges Congress every 2 years. So within the email that you will receive after this week, there is an application process. So we will think about, go back to your organization, your garden, think about, is this a Congress that you would like to host? And we'll take those applicants and we'll give some information on what it requires to host. And then we'll come back to you soon with where to next. We're going to see you all again in 2 years. We don't know yet that we have an application process. Yes. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to our host, Santiago. And